Got quite a bit done today on the Buick 3800, so in this video I'll go over some of the tips and tricks I've done up to this point, so hang on. Okay, as you can see, I put some RTV around the coolant and the exhaust ports. There's two coolant ports on each head. Then I put some RTV in between the block and the head on both sides. I'm also going to put some RTV on the ends of these gaskets, poke these into place. Then I'm going to put the gasket on. I'm going to do the same thing by putting RTV on the coolant passages on the manifold as well. Let me get this buttoned up and then I'll show you the manifold. Okay, here's the intake manifold. You can see right around the coolant passages and around the exhaust port, both sides. Now I can drop this onto the engine and start putting bolts in it. Okay, as per manual specs, they want a non-hardening thread locker on the bolts, and they want them torqued to 96 inch-pounds. I believe the upper was 120 inch-pounds, the ones that go on the top, but I'll double check that when I go to put that on. What I would recommend doing at this time while you're here is replace this temperature sensor, this one right here. Replace this sensor here while you're in here, because otherwise you have to take the throttle body off to get at this one, which is a bit of a pain. Because in order to get the throttle body off, you have to get the cables out of the way, and you got to take these bolts off back here in the head to get the cables out. So yeah, while I'm in here, I'm going to change this temperature sensor. There's also another temperature sensor right here, which you have to take out in order to get at this bolt. The difference between these sensors that I can tell is one is straight, and the other one has a step on it. So make sure you don't mix those up. So this one that has that step was back here, and then the one that was straight was over here. I believe they have the same plug. No, they have a different plug. One plug's bigger, I think. Yeah, one is a single wire, which is probably the switch for the fans, and then the other one is a 2-wire, which is going to be a temperature sensor. It's going to have signal ref. So yeah, you want to replace that coolant temperature sensor here while you're in here, and then this one I believe is just a switch, but they have different pins. No, that one's a 2-wire too, I'm sorry. It's just the ones in the center. But yeah, either way, you get the idea. Replace those while you're in here, it's easier. And I'm going to use gas oil on the threads that seal those up. If you're buying new sensors, they probably already have sealant on them, and that would be fine, but I'm just going to put some gas oil on these and put them back in. So I'm going to continue on. Okay, I put some RTV in the slots before I put the O-rings on here, and I only put a little bit of RTV on this lower plenum. There's a port here for the idle air control, and there's a port here for EGR, and all I did on the manifold, the upper manifold, is a little RTV here and here, right where those O-rings sit. And the torque spec is 132 inch-pounds for this upper piece. So I'm going to start putting that together right now. And there's two size bolts. There's a shorter style bolt that goes around the base of this, and there's one longer bolt that goes right there. Make sure you replace that PCV, or at least the vacuum adapter gasket as well. Make sure you put a gasket on that. That's going to help it run better, because it can suck that gasket in as it gets old. Okay, I'm just going to show you quick how these clips go on. There's a taper to them. So the taper is going to go towards the top, and they're going to clip from the inside out on this injector. Try and get you in there so I can see it. Not the easiest thing to catch on camera. You can have the injector in too far if you're not careful. Right like that. There you go. I'll start putting that into the holes. Make sure you have your brackets in place. because you have to take those off to get the manifold off. I put those on before the fuel rail. Once I put the fuel rail on, then you can wrap the harness around it. Once you get the harness on, then you can put your throttle body assembly on, but I'm going to wait on that because I'm doing other harness work and other work down here, so I got to get all that stuff done down there before I can put the harness and throttle body on. Just going to show you how these vacuum lines are run. There's two that hook in right here. One comes in right here and goes to the vapor canister with the purge valve, and this other one goes down to the vacuum modulator for the transmission. There's one line right here that goes to the pressure regulator for the fuel rail. There's one line that comes back here to the HVAC controls right here. One's unhooked and capped to isolate a vacuum leak I gotta fix in the future. And then there's one that runs out to the brake booster. I just put the clamp here. This one didn't have a clamp, so that's good enough from the factory. It's good enough for this. And then obviously your wire harness is going to hook in right here, come around and plug in here and back there and over here. That connects right there, but that's going to have to be hooked up when I put the power steering pump in later on. I'll show you how these here tubes go in just a second. There's a bit of a trick to them. One heater tube hooks in right here, and there's two studs over here. One hooks into the top and one hooks into the bottom. I have the tensioner out of the way right now. Matter of fact, I'm going to put those studs in just to show you. So, okay, this one doesn't have to come out to get the manifold out, but I'll show you how it goes in anyway. It's going to slide in right there like that, and then that's going to tilt up onto the stud like that. This other one goes on right here, and that slides right in onto that stud. And then there's a bolt slot right here that holds that in place. You're going to have a hard time seeing that bolt with the alternator in place, so you got to take the alternator out, and maybe even the crossover tube that goes in from here anyway. There's a tube that goes here. Take that out of the way, and then you can get that bolt off, and then this tube will slide out of your way, and then this will twist and come on out. But they do corrode in, so you're going to fight a little bit, and like I said before, use a gun brush to clean this bore out so your O-ring seals. So that'll do it for this video. If you liked it, make sure you give me a thumbs up. I'll post more as I go. So thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.